Straight ahead on Fox 44 News at 5:30, former President Donald Trump wins big in Iowa. We'll have more on where the campaigns go from here. And Trump is back in court today facing a second defamation case by writer E. Jean Carroll. Also, snow, ice, and freezing temperatures are wreaking havoc across the country. We have more on the extreme weather we're seeing across the nation.
Live from Waco, Temple, and Killeen, your news now. This is Fox 44 News at 5:30.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on Fox 44 News at 5:30. I'm Earl Stoudemire filling in for Adam and MG. Former President Donald Trump has won the first in the nation Iowa caucuses, closing off the official first chapter of the 2024 campaign. Iowans brave frigid temperatures to cast their votes to do this. Fox's Trevor Shirley has more from Des Moines.
Trump's win in Iowa here last night now sets the stage for the New Hampshire primary. That happens next week, but the win last night is also raising questions about the other GOP contenders in this race and where they go from here.
Iowa, we love you.
On Monday night, former President Donald Trump did what he came to do in Iowa, leave the state a winner.
This is the first because the big night is going to be in November.
Despite facing more than 90 criminal charges across multiple states, Iowa Republicans showed they want the former president to be their next one.
Because of your support, in spite of all of that they threw at us, everyone against us, we've got our ticket punched out of Iowa.
Governor Ron DeSantis and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley took second and third places respectively, leaving their paths forward in question.
I love you, Iowa, but we're on to New Hampshire.
Tech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy suspending his campaign after a fourth-place finish, throwing his support behind Trump.
He will have my full endorsement for the presidency, and I think we're going to do the right thing for this country.
Since last week, Iowa's been dealing with historically bad weather. We're talking about wind chill factors in the negative 20 to 30 range, blizzard conditions in some cases, and it's still going to take another day or two to figure out just how that bad weather impacted voter turnout.
The former president now heads to New York City for another court appearance Tuesday, before heading to New Hampshire, hoping for a repeat of his Iowa success.
So it's now off to New Hampshire, a great place. We won it last time.
Trump's court appearance today in New York City is part of that ongoing civil trial connected to a sexual assault case brought against him by the author E. Jean Carroll. In the meantime, Trump is expected to hit the campaign trail tonight. Reporting in Des Moines, I'm Trevor Shirley.
ABC has canceled its New Hampshire Republican debate after Nikki Haley and Donald Trump declined to participate. This is after Nikki Haley said she wasn't taking the debate stage again unless former President Donald Trump participates. The Republican presidential candidate saying in a statement today the next time she'll participate in the debate will either be if Trump or President Joe Biden joins. That left Florida Governor Ron DeSantis as the only one scheduled to attend Thursday's debate in New Hampshire. The move follows a record-breaking win for Trump in the Iowa caucuses, with Haley trailing behind DeSantis, who placed a distant second. As we've mentioned, former President Donald Trump is back in court today. This time, it's for a jury assembly in a second defamation case brought by writer E. Jean Carroll. The question facing the jury, how much will he have to pay in damages? Back in May, a different jury found Trump liable for sexually assaulting Carroll in the department store dressing room in the 1990s and then defaming her in 2022. He was ordered to pay her $5 million, but Trump has denied any wrongdoing, and his team is appealing the case. Now, this jury faces one task, deciding how much Trump will pay for defaming Carroll in 2019 while he was president. Carroll's legal team wrote to the judge, quote, "Last year the court made clear that the trial action would be limited to damages only, and Mr. Trump cannot testify that he did not sexually assault Ms. Carroll." Trump's team, though, is pushing back. His lawyer, Alina Habba, saying, quote, "Given the court's prior rulings in this case, President Trump's ability to defend himself at trial is already severely limited. Precluding him from taking the stand altogether will be a manifest injustice and a clear violation of his constitutional right." The judge has ruled that the former president may testify next Monday, but his remarks must relate to damages, not Ms. Carroll's claims. Well, the Hewitt and Waco fire departments teamed up quickly to extinguish a house fire Monday evening. The fire department showed up at the 600 block of Castleman Creek around 5:30 in the evening. When crews showed up, the attic was already on fire. A resident confirmed everyone already evacuated the building for first responders to extinguish the fire. The Hewitt Fire Department reports the house suffered major fire and water damage. No injuries were reported. The cause of the fire was pinned down to an exterior wall due to the heating of a water faucet, which caught the wall insulation on fire. In another structure fire Monday, in Morgan's Point resulted in no injuries. Fire units showed up to a home on Wyatt Earp Drive around 10 in the morning. The homeowner reported smoke coming from the attic area above the garage. Crews quickly found and extinguished the fire. In the end, the fire caused minimal damage to the home. In our crime report, 24-year-old Kashawn Damon Bowens is behind bars on charges of sexual assault of a child after an outcry was made to the mother of the victim. The affidavit states how the child told her mother the incidents happened on multiple occasions between July and September of last year. They happened at a home in Troy and once at an apartment in Temple. As the investigation was completed, a warrant was obtained and Bowens was arrested. Bowens is now in the Bell County Jail. The search for an endangered missing teen is underway in Robertson County. 17-year-old Noble Thomas Gross was last seen after midnight today in the 400 block of Holly Street in Franklin. He is 5'6", he weighs 201 pounds, he has brown hair and green eyes, and he was last seen wearing black pants and a dark gray hoodie with white lettering on the left sleeve. If you see Gross, the Amber Alert Network says to not approach him. You're encouraged to call local law enforcement or contact the Robertson County Sheriff's Office at the number on your screen. Coming up, snow, ice, and freezing temperatures are wreaking havoc across the country while intense wind and rain hit the southeast. We have more on the extreme weather we're seeing across the nation.
And weather-wise around here, another very cold night expected across the region, and then a slight warm-up as we hit the end of the week, but don't get used to it. Some more cold air moving our way. I'll have the 10-day forecast coming up next.
This is Fox 44 News at 5:30 with Adam Hooper, MG Montemayor, AMS certified chief meteorologist Mike LaPointe, and sports with Eric Kelly.